have been on a journey in the book of John, and God plans this because I think it has been a source of great encouragement even to me personally, because as we've been going through this, just like God had prepared us, and I believe that it has also been of great encouragement to you again and again. And so again, if you may please open your Bibles or go to John chapter 10. We left last week, we read John chapter 10 verse 1 to verse 10, and today we'll pick it up from verse 11 and continue, and we see what God has in store for us. In the Gospel of John, Jesus makes very strange but divine claims. In the book of Exodus, when God was having a chat with Moses, he introduced himself. He said that I am whom I am. And Jesus takes that name to introduce himself in the book of John. Many theologians, they have a party time just looking into the 7 claims or the 7 I ams of Jesus Christ. My task has not been to go through them, but I have mentioned them in passing. When Christ fed the 5,000 with bread, Jesus came and said, I am the bread of life, and he who comes to me will never hunger, and they will never thirst. After that, we looked into the story of how Christ opened the eyes of the blind man, and there again Jesus makes another claim that I am the light of the world. He who finds me or he who follows me will never walk in darkness. And also last week we looked at, in passing, another claim where Jesus says that I am the door or I am the gate. He who enters by me will be saved. Today we'll also focus at another one from verse 11, and where Christ says that, he is the good shepherd. He is the good shepherd. And that one will be tied in with what we were looking at last week in John chapter 10, verse 10, that the thief come to steal, to kill, and to destroy. But I have come to give you abundant life. How is this life given? How is this life given? Or from who does it, it comes from where, from whom? And so we'll be looking into that. And last week, if you may remember, in our introductions here, I took you, or I was able to mention to you about the different characteristics of sheep. This came from my own experience while, as a small boy, I was taking care of sheep and goats, and that was my experience. That was my hobby. There were no TVs. There was nothing else. It's just you wake up. If you're not in school, take care of the goats, take care of the sheep. And one of the things that I noticed and I shared with you last week, I can mention just a few of them, is that sheep, they have a very distinct smell. It's not a good one. The shepherd loves it, but not many other people loves it. Also, when they are cast or when they fall, they trip, they cannot be able to turn. And many sheep have died like that. That's why you get that phrase, cast down, because it fell, but unless the shepherd comes and rescues it, or unless help comes from outside, it is going to die. I have another important characteristic today that I think will be helpful as we explore this text today. And one of the things that I noticed is that sheep are not made or created or built to carry heavy loads. They don't have the ability to carry loads. They do not have a capacity to carry heavy things on their back. I remember when we were small boys and we would go out there grazing and we are tired, we have spent the whole day out there in the field and many other things. There were no Ubers, and so there was a feeling like you have taken care of these sheep, and so the only thing that you can benefit from it is that you climb on top of its back and it carries you home. Definitely when our parents are not seeing. But if we would just come on top of the sheep, it has very weak legs. It struggles to carry its own weight. They are not as agile as the goats. So any extra weight can make this sheep to tumble down. Because it has weak legs, they are a bit like a spring, so any extra weight, it makes them to go apart. That was my experience. Because they have weak backs and legs. Actually, if you want to control it, just hold its back. Because it has a very weak back, it's going to obey you. And sheep are not designed to carry loads. But I told you that sheep are designed to follow the shepherd, not to carry the load, not to bear burdens, but to follow the shepherd. Jesus tells us, his sheep, these words that have come from the book of Matthew chapter 11, verse 28. Come to me, all who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Our mandate as the flock of God is to go to the shepherd himself, Jesus Christ himself, and he will offload the burdens from us. He gives us rest. He gives us rest. So no matter the situation or the season, maybe you are struggling in your journey as a parent. You're wondering now, what will come out of this child? Maybe you're wondering about your marriage. Maybe you're wondering about school. Maybe you're wondering about work. Maybe you're wondering about church. Those burdens are not meant for you to carry. You are not created to, you don't have the capacity to carry them. You take them before the good shepherd, before the Lord, and you say, God, is this burden? Release it from my back, and God hears. Because sometimes we are like burden-bearing sheep. We carry guilt, we carry fear, we have expectations that are not being met, we are burdened by sin, we are burdened by grief, and yet we are not designed to carry those burdens. Jesus doesn't tell you, try harder. Jesus doesn't tell you, carry it better. Jesus doesn't tell you, be stronger. Be strong. Jesus does not tell us that. He says, come to me. The solution to the burdens that we carry, brothers and sisters, this solution isn't our own strength. Is it on our own giftings? The solution comes from the good shepherd. And what do we need to do? We need to go to him and surrender. Come to me, all who labor and are heavy laden, and I'll give you rest. We surrender to our Lord, and he supplies the rest that we need. To whom do we surrender? Who is it that we surrender to? That's what I want us to look at. In verse 11, Jesus said this, I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd lays down his life for the sheep. That's what Christ said. And Jesus here is not saying that he is a shepherd among shepherds. He's a better shepherd. The Bible doesn't tell us that Jesus is a shepherd. Jesus says, I am the good shepherd. This is a specific one. This is a specific one whom we know all too well. This one knows how to feed his sheep. This one knows how to protect the sheep. This one knows how to take care of the sheep. He's not like other shepherds. He is a distinct one, and if we go to him, he'll give us rest and he'll feed us well. He knows us very well. We have a personal relationship. In my growing up again and again, and when I met my wife and she asked me the worst job that I've ever done, it is based on this story. One of our neighbors used to have a very big ram, and it was very nice, looking great, and every other neighbor within our area desired, that this ram will come to their flock and they do something, and the rest of the sheep will bear good-looking lambs like this one. Do you get the drift? But then so people would borrow this ram, and it goes and it spends the night on the other side. And at times, the real owner, realized that when other neighbors borrow my ram, they don't take care of it. They don't feed it. But he realized that there is a guy called Philip around here who has a connection with this ram. It never used to kick me. It used to be friendly to me. We used to have a relationship as much as it didn't belong to us. And so the neighbor came to me and told me, my neighbors have been borrowing this ram, but they're not taking care of it. Okay, he told me that he's borrowing. Later I learned that actually he was being paid some money. I want you, Philip, to accompany this ram wherever it goes to do some ministry. And when it goes there, go with it, but make sure that it is well fed, it is taken care of because of the work that is before it, if you get the drift. And the reason my neighbor came to me is because I knew it. We had a sort of a relationship. And so I'll go there and spend the night. I did that for the first weekend, the second weekend, the third weekend. My mom started complaining because I was only paid 10 shillings. And after that, that business was closed. After that, she thought that her son is being misused, and rightly so. So taking a ram to somewhere else for it to have a good... Anyway, let's proceed with our story. This good shepherd knows the sheep, knows how to feed it, knows how to protect it. When we look at that, we are told that he is the good shepherd. That adjective there means he who is excellent morally, one who is proper, one who is faithful, one who is true. So if you are to interpret it, you can say the excellent shepherd, the proper shepherd, the faithful shepherd, and the true shepherd. And those adjectives, they fit this description very, very well. The noun shepherd that is used there is the same one translated in the epistles as pastors. So we are equally shepherds. But there is a distinction, there's a distinction between us and Christ Jesus. I am a pastor, I am a shepherd. In Jesus, Christ is a shepherd in his nature, in his essence, in who he is and his true identity. He is a shepherd in essence. For us, we are shepherds by calling, we are shepherds by assignment. Our role is delegated by Christ himself. It is temporary, it is dependent on him. So as pastors, we are shepherds, and at the same time we are sheep. Maybe the right description for us is that we, for example, like myself here, I'm the lead sheep. You get? I'm the lead sheep. Lorraine is the associate sheep. Madenge is the sheep goat. I know it can be a bit confusing there. If you get what I'm saying. We ourselves are sheep. We do not replace the good shepherd, friends. Never forget about that. He is excellent, he is faithful, he is true, he is proper. We can never replace the good shepherd, but we have that delegated authority from him. Jesus says that as a good shepherd, he lays down his life. We, as pastors, I don't think we can lay it. I don't think so. But although in our work it costs us, being a pastor is costly. It denies you some conveniences of life. You will not see me other places. I want, but because of this, I won't go. You are also out there. The public never gives you the best accolades. If I add weight, he's eating too much, he's eating our tithe. If he's not eating, what's wrong? We don't want a pastor who is slim and tender, who is emaciated. We want a sheep. If I come to your place, if I come to your house, pastor is spending too much time in people's houses. If I don't come, pastor is disconnected. Do you get what I'm trying to say? I met a congregant at Two Rivers who was quite shocked. Oh, you wear jeans. Sometimes it's shameful. You just go to the petrol station, you only have 500, and then you meet a congregant there. Tell them jaza na 500, whatever that means. Sometimes I go to the bank, just when I have filled in my things there, then I go to confirm the balance that I have, and then that person says, "Hi, Pastor, I come to Mamlaka." I like it at times so that they can know that we leave that verse in the book of Acts, "Silver and gold I have none." It is costly in that way, friends. But I want you to remember this, that this shepherd, Jesus Christ, I want you to hang on to him because he does something that the earthly shepherds can never do. He loves his sheep too much that's why he lays down his life for the sheep, and we see that in a short while. And when he says that he lays down his life for the sheep, friends, here he's reversing something. Our expectation is not that the shepherd lays down his life for the sheep. In everyday setting, remember this, that sheep exist for the shepherd. Sheep are kept for the shepherd's gains. Sheep is kept for wool. Sheep is kept for meat. Sheep, they are kept for ratio or dowry. When you are getting married, you can take them. When there is danger or when there is a need, the sheep are the ones who loses their life. But Jesus surprisingly reverses this, and he tells us there that the sheep are not a means of a benefit, but instead, in this case, it becomes Christ, or the good shepherd, becomes their means of salvation at the cost of his own life. Where the sheep was meant to die, the good shepherd comes and says, "No, I'm going to stand in that gap and instead die." He dies for something that smells, weak back, burdened, all manner of things, all the characteristics of sheep. And soon we'll be celebrating the Lord's table, Holy Communion, where we remember Christ laid his life down for me. Friends, the second verse there says that the hired hand is not the shepherd who owns the sheep. So when he sees the wolf coming, he abandons the sheep and runs away. Then the wolf attacks the flock and scatters it. The man runs away because he is a hired hand and cares nothing for the sheep. If the flock grew, the shepherd would hire someone to help. The animals out there in the grazing fields would meet many, many dangers. There are also enemies, but the greatest enemy of them all is the wolf. A wolf is and I was watching this through the National Geographic, the wolf is a very strategic and patient animal. It makes an observation first. It looks for the weak. It looks for the straying animal, in this case sheep, and it attacks. It exploits the open gaps. Jesus contrasts himself with this person who is hired one, when he sees the sheep coming, do you know what he does, the hired one? He runs away. Unfortunately, we are told that when the wolf comes within the fold, it doesn't just take what it needs. It leaves widespread damage. See those two words that I used there. The wolf attacks the flock and scatters it. The wolf comes. When the wolf comes, it snatches, and also it scatters the sheep. So I want to encourage you, friends, be careful. When wolves come, in this case spiritually, they come to kill and to disrupt and to leave chaos behind. We need to see them from afar. We need to hear the voice of the shepherd when he warns us, there is a wolf coming, and we take caution. Because the thief comes to steal, to kill, and to destroy. Jesus emphasis that the wolf comes to scatter the sheep, left me thinking about the greatest danger that we face as the African church is that there could be fear and disconnection and also even divisions. And when that happens, the wolf needs to be given credit that it has achieved its mission. But I want to encourage you, brothers and sisters, Mamlakites here, because of Christ's shepherding, do not be afraid. Do not disconnect. Christ will protect his sheep, and that's no doubt. He takes prestige in protecting his sheep. He lays his life down. And so let's join in prayer in asking God to protect our church, to be with us. Jesus doesn't move away from danger as the hired servant, and that is our hope and our strength. Whenever we face any kind of oppression, even in our specific lives, when families, we cannot be able to sit together and talk, when colleagues, you cannot be able to see an eye for an eye, you are so disappointed, we need to remember this. Our hope and our strength is in the great, and it is in the good shepherd who knows us. Verse 14 and 15 says this, I am the good shepherd, he repeats that again, I know my sheep, and my sheep know me. Just as the Father knows me, and I know the Father, and I lay down my life for the sheep. The thing is this, here we are told the language is a language of knowing. And this is covenant language, by the way. It is a deep and a relational and intimate, actually. Intimate. It's the same word that will be used between the relationship of a man and a woman. In Genesis, we are told that, and Adam knew his wife, and they got a child. It is that deep language there. The language that exists between two people who care for each other deeply. My dear wife is very, very gracious. And at times we go somewhere and maybe I get off topic or I'm speaking a lot or something like that, and maybe she's discouraged or disappointed a little bit. She without telling me a word, she looks at me and I know what my wife is saying. And I change the discussion or I change the direction of where I was going. Maybe you have gone somewhere and here I'm not tired, I'm chatting, and we need to go back home because we need to take care of our children. And just when we are at that apex of the stories, my wife looks at me and I know, guys, thank you for hosting us. Do you know why that happens? Because we know each other. We do not need to share words. She doesn't need to tell me, she doesn't need to text me. She just gives me that gracious gaze. I'm saying gracious gaze so that I can go home. But it's a gaze. That gracious gaze, she looks at me, and I know this is what my wife is saying. Because you know what? We know each other. That's the thing about our good shepherd. He tells you something. He convicts your heart and your soul. And you hear him. He later will say that my sheep, they know my voice and I know them. That's the covenant language. It is very, very personal. It is ongoing recognition and it's mutual belonging. So friends, you're not part of the crowd. You're not part of the crowd. I fairly know quite a number of you guys, but I don't know all of you. But for Jesus, he knows you. He knows where you are at now. He knows the burdens that you are carrying. Maybe you came here to hide, and so after this, when Rev Judy closes his service, you wonder, am I going home where maybe there is no peace? Am I going back again to the business of the day where I don't know how this week will pan out like? Jesus knows you intimately, and he knows you where you are at, even in this season. He says, my sheep, they know me, and I know them. Be encouraged by that, brothers and sisters. You're not part of the crowd. You are known personally by Christ, and that is good news. He lays his life down for us. Today is Palm Sunday. We call it Palm Sunday in the church tradition because it's a day that we celebrate when Christ, made that triumphal entry to Jerusalem. And a week later, days later, he was crucified. And this is the week that we know, Passion Week, where we remember what Christ did. He laid his life down for the sheep. Verse 16 says this, I have other sheep that are not of this sheep pen. I must bring them also. They too will listen to my voice. And there shall be one flock and one shepherd. This points to the inclusion of the Gentiles. That is you and me. These words were spoken to the people in Israel. You are not there. You are not part of that. But Jesus here had an idea of us. I have, if you see it clearly, I have other sheep that are not of this sheep pen. Even when the gospel had not come, Jesus knew that I have sheep somewhere else, scattered in the world. And here we are shown the global mission of the church, that the mission of Christ is global. Friends, even in crisis, the mission of God continues. Here, when Jesus was saying this, he was meeting, he was going through a lot of friction and oppression. But he says the mission must continue. Jesus doesn't say that the sheep that is scattered out there, that they will find their way in. He says, I must bring them in. That the gathering of these other sheep is part of God's unstoppable plan. Friends, I need you to understand this as a believer and as a Christian. That your salvation is not based on your human effort. Your salvation is divine pursuit of Christ himself. He says, I must go out there and fetch them. I must go out there and bring them in. The shepherd does not only care for the sheep that is inside the sheepfold, he cares even for those others who are outside there. And I know that you have gone through this when you are, this week I know if someone asked you where you go to church, you would not have shared. Before that, you used to say, no. But this week, I'm a believer, I believe in the Lord. And people are sending you messages asking you belong to that church? Is this the church that you told me that you're going to? You try to ignore, then they send you another link and another link. Those people that were scorning you, even others who are not believers, do you know what? Christ loves them. Christ cares for them. He's pursuing, he's protecting the ones that are in the sheepfold. He's pursuing the sheep that is outside as well, even those ones. Brothers and sisters, my question today is, who is your shepherd today? Who is he? Let me read for you the rest of the verses here. Verse 18 or 17. The reason my Father loves me is that I lay down my life, only to take it up again. No one takes it from me, but I lay it down of my own accord. I have authority to lay it down and authority to take it up again. This command I received from my Father. What Christ is saying here is that my death is, it's something that I'm aware of. It's part of my plan. Jesus performed quite a number of miracles in the Bible, especially bringing people to resurrection, and we'll be looking at this next week. All those who had died and Jesus resurrected them, they needed someone outside to be able to bring them to life. But Jesus doesn't need anyone else to bring him back to life. He lays it down and then he picks it up again. Later he says in verse 27, my sheep listen to my voice, I know them and they follow me. And when they follow, what do they get? I give them eternal life and they shall never, ever perish. No one can snatch them from out of my hand. I hope that you like that. The wolf comes to snatch and to scatter. Jesus says, if you hide and if you anchor yourself under him, you know what? No one can snatch away. No one can take you away from him. My Father who has given them to me is greater than all. No one can snatch them out of my Father's hand. I and the Father are one, and then you are included there, one who is shielded and protected by the Lord. Friends, I want you to trust this shepherd, for he is like no other. I don't know what you want this shepherd to provide for you. Only Jesus, the good shepherd, can lead you to green pastures. Only this good shepherd can lead you to, beside still waters where you'll be refreshed. Only this shepherd can restore your soul. That weight that you're carrying, only this shepherd can. Because he is the good shepherd who lays his life down for the sheep. He is the one who knows the sheep well and has a personal relationship. He conquered sin and death. There is no one else who is like him. Trust